All right, so you're interested in getting a handle on RTX Corporation, this aerospace and defense giant. We've got you covered.
Yeah, they're making some serious waves in the industry.
We've been digging through the latest research and financial reports.
Lots to unpack.
Trust me, there's a lot more to RTX than meets the eye.
Oh, absolutely. It's a fascinating company.
So much going on. Cutting-edge tech, global contracts, constant innovation.
It's a fast-paced world they operate in, for sure.
Our mission in this deep dive is to extract the most important nuggets.
The key takeaways.
And believe me, we've uncovered some surprising facts about RTX.
I think our listeners will be quite intrigued by what we've found.
So let's start with the basics.
Huh?
What exactly does RTX do?
Well, at its core, RTX is a multinational aerospace and defense company.
Okay, that's pretty broad.
Yeah, but they've got a portfolio balance between serving commercial clients and fulfilling military contracts.
So they're not just focused on defense.
No, not at all. They've got their hands in both worlds.
Interesting. Can you break down how their business is structured?
Sure. Think of them as having three main branches, each with its own specialty.
Okay, like divisions.
Exactly. You've got Collins Aerospace.
All right, Collins Aerospace. What's their focus?
They focus on all the essential systems that keep aircraft running smoothly. Everything from avionics and communications to landing gear, even the seats you sit in.
Wow, so they're involved in almost every aspect of flying.
Pretty much. Then there's Pratt Whitney.
Okay, I've heard of them. They make engines, right?
Yeah. They're famous for their powerful jet engines. They power both those big commercial airliners you see at the airport and a lot of high-performance military aircraft, like the F-35 fighter jet.
So whether you're flying for business or battling it out in the skies, RTX has a hand in it.
That's one way to put it.
What's the third branch? You said there were three?
Ah, yes. That would be Raytheon.
Raytheon. Okay, and what do they specialize in?
This is where things get really interesting, especially in the defense world. They're all about cutting-edge defense technologies, missiles, radar systems, cybersecurity, and even, get this, hypersonic weapons.
Hypersonic weapons. Now that sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It's definitely the future of warfare, and RTX is right at the forefront.
Okay, so three main areas of expertise. How do they organize all of this? Must be a bit of a logistical puzzle.
They've actually streamlined it quite well. Two primary business groups. Aerospace Systems handles the commercial side of things.
All right, makes sense.
Encompasses a good chunk of Collins Aerospace's work and Pratt & Whitney's commercial engine business. Then you have Defense and Military Systems, which, as the name suggests...
It includes all of Raytheon and the defense-focused parts of Collins and Pratt & Whitney.
You got it.
That makes sense. It seems like a pretty smart setup. Speaking of smart, let's talk about RTX's position in the market. Who are they up against?
Well, RTX is definitely a major player, but...
There's always competition.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh, absolutely. They face stiff competition from other industry giants. On the defense side, you've got powerhouses like Lockheed Martin and Northrop Grumman. And in aerospace, they're constantly battling it out with companies like GE and Honeywell.
Wow, so they're in a pretty tough arena.
Yeah, it's a competitive landscape out there.
But even with that competition, RTX must have some key advantages, right? What sets them apart?
Definitely. Their diversified portfolio, that balance between commercial and defense, is a big one. Allows them to weather economic storms a bit better than companies more focused on a single area.
So if one sector takes a hit, the other can help pick up the slack. Kind of like a diversified investment portfolio.
Exactly. And they also benefit from a massive installed base. Think about it. Their systems are already integrated into countless aircraft and defense systems around the world. Switching to a competitor would be a logistical nightmare for a lot of their clients.
So they've got that lock-in effect working in their favor. That's huge. But what about weaknesses? It can't all be smooth sailing, right?
Of course not. One of their biggest challenges lately has been supply chain issues. Just like many other companies, they've been dealing with disruptions and delays.
Yeah, everyone's feeling that.
Particularly in getting the parts and materials they need for Pratt & Whitney and Collins Aerospace.
I see. So external factors impacting their operations.
Right. And then there's the issue with Pratt & Whitney's GTF engines.
I've heard whispers about that. What's the story there?
Well, these engines, which were designed to be more fuel efficient and quieter.
Sounds good on paper.
Right. They've been experiencing some technical problems.
Oh, no. What kind of problems?
Specifically with premature wear and tear. This has led to grounded planes, frustrated airlines, and quite a bit of negative press for RTX.
So it's not just the supply chain, but also internal issues that are causing headaches.
Yes, and these engine problems are hitting their bottom line as they invest in repairs and redesigns. It's given their competitors, like GE, a bit of an edge.
Sounds like they've got their work cut out for them.
They do, and we haven't even touched on the fact that they're heavily reliant on Airbus for a significant portion of their commercial aerospace business.
Oh, right. Airbus, the European aircraft manufacturer.
Exactly. Unlike some competitors who work with both Airbus and Boeing, RTX is more exposed if something goes wrong with Airbus.
So a lot of potential pitfalls, but also some significant strengths. I'm guessing they have a plan to navigate all of this and keep growing.
Absolutely. Their growth strategy hinges on a few key areas.
All right, so RTX has some hurdles to clear, but also some real opportunities. Where are they focusing their efforts moving forward?
Well, one key element is riding the wave of the commercial aviation boom. As air travel rebounds from the pandemic slump and airlines invest in newer, more fuel-efficient planes, both Collins Aerospace and Pratt Whitney are well positioned to benefit.
That makes sense. People are eager to travel again.
Yeah.
And those new planes need cutting-edge technology. What else is part of their strategy?
Well, on a less optimistic note, they're also capitalizing on the unfortunate reality of increased global defense spending. As geopolitical tensions rise, governments around the world are boosting their defense budgets, and that directly benefits Raytheon.
Yeah, with its advanced missile systems, radar technology, and cybersecurity expertise.
Exactly.
It's a sobering thought that global instability can drive profits, but it's definitely a factor RTX is paying attention to. But it's not just about reacting to current trends, right? They're also investing in future technologies.
Absolutely. RTX is pumping over $7.5 billion annually into research and development. They're pushing the boundaries in areas like artificial intelligence, hypersonic technology, and advanced materials.
So not just keeping up, they're aiming to be ahead of the game.
All right.
But how does all of this stack up against what their competitors are doing? Are they taking similar approaches?
There are some similarities, but also some key differences. General Electric, for instance, is placing a big bet on their LEAP engines for narrow-body jets and their commitment to sustainable aviation technologies, hoping to lower emissions and fuel consumption.
Okay.
Lockheed Martin, the defense giant, is continuing to dominate big-ticket programs like the F-35 fighter jet and sophisticated missile defense systems. And then you have Northrop Grumman, which is heavily investing in futuristic areas like hypersonics, space systems, and autonomous weapons systems.
So it sounds like RTX is taking a more diversified approach compared to some of its competitors who are focusing on more specialized areas.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see how these strategies play out in the long run. But with any plan, there are always risks, right?
Yeah.
What could potentially throw a wrench in RTX's ambitions?
You're absolutely right. Even with the best strategy, unforeseen challenges can arise. For RTX, some of those potential pitfalls are pretty substantial. We've already talked about the supply chain disruptions impacting Collins and Pratt and Whitney. If those issues persist, it could significantly hamper their ability to fulfill orders and meet deadlines.
And then there's that GPF engine problem. That's not something they can just sweep under the rug, right?
Definitely not. Resolving those engine issues is going to require significant time, money, and effort. And they run the risk of losing even more ground to competitors while they're playing catch-up.
So a lot hinges on fixing those engines and reassuring customers.
Exactly. And then there's the inherent complexity of managing massive defense contracts. They can be subject to unpredictable funding changes, political shifts, and even global events that can disrupt timelines and budgets.
It's a high-stakes game with a lot of factors outside of RTX's control.
That's right. And their heavy reliance on Airbus is another risk factor. If Airbus experiences any production hiccups or sees a decrease in demand, it could directly impact RTX. Then there's the ever-present challenge of inflation. Rising costs for labor and materials can put a real squeeze on profits, especially in an industry that requires such specialized expertise and components.
It seems like RTX is walking a bit of a tightrope. A lot has to go right for them to achieve their goals.
True, but let's not forget that RTX is a major player with a long history of innovation and a proven track record. And they have some recent wins that suggest they're on the right path.
Okay, let's hear some good news. What's been happening lately that gives you reason for optimism?
Well, their Q4 and full year 2024 results were quite impressive. They saw 11% organic sales growth and generated strong free cash flow, which is a key indicator of financial health. They also reported a massive backlog of orders, a whopping $218 billion.
Wow, $218 billion.
That includes a record-breaking $93 billion in defense contracts.
That sounds promising. A healthy backlog means they've got plenty of work lined up for the future.
Exactly. And remember those GTF engine issues we discussed? Well, they've implemented a robust recovery plan and are making steady progress in addressing the technical problems and regaining customer confidence. They've even unveiled a new and improved version of the GTF engine, the GTF Advantage, which is generating quite a bit of buzz in the industry.
So they're not just fixing the old, they're also innovating for the future. What else is on the horizon?
Well, they're continuing to push the envelope in other areas as well. One notable example is their development of an upgraded Coyote drone killer missile system. It's smaller, lighter, and more effective than previous versions, and has been attracting interest from military forces around the world.
Drone killer missile. That sounds pretty intense.
It's definitely a sign of the times, and RTX is positioning itself to be a leader in this rapidly evolving area of defense technology.
So they're firing on all cylinders, so to speak. But what are the make-or-break factors that will determine whether RTX truly thrives in the coming years? What should investors and enthusiasts be watching closely?
That's a great question, and it boils down to a few key areas. First and foremost, they need to fully resolve those GTF engine issues. They need to demonstrate to airlines and the public that those problems are truly behind them. If they can't shake that reputation, it will continue to hurt their bottom line and give competitors a significant advantage.
It's like a dark cloud hanging over them.
Exactly. Another crucial factor is the health of the commercial aviation industry. RTX's success is intertwined with the resurgence of air travel. Any slowdown in airline spending or a dip in passenger demand could have a ripple effect on their business.
It's a reminder that even a giant like RTX is vulnerable to forces beyond its control.
Absolutely. And we can't forget about global defense spending. As we discussed, Raytheon is benefiting from the current climate of geopolitical uncertainty, but that could change. If tensions ease or governments decide to cut back on military expenditures, it could significantly impact Raytheon's growth.
So a lot hinges on factors that are hard to predict.
That's the nature of the game. And let's not forget about supply chains. RTX needs to find ways to navigate the ongoing disruptions, manage rising costs, and ensure a steady flow of parts and materials to keep their operations running smoothly. If they can't get a handle on this, it could lead to delays, cost overruns, and damage to their reputation.
It's a constant balancing act.
It is. And finally, we need to keep an eye on the competitive landscape. RTX is up against some formidable rivals, each with their own strengths and strategies. Their ability to maintain or gain market share in this intensely competitive environment will be a key indicator of their long-term success.
So a lot to watch, a lot to ponder.
Indeed. RTX is a fascinating company at a pivotal moment. They have a lot of things going for them, a strong foundation, a solid strategy, and a commitment to innovation. But they also face some serious challenges that could derail their ambitions. How they navigate these coming years will determine whether they solidify their position as a true leader in aerospace and defense, or become another cautionary tale of a company that couldn't adapt to a changing world.
Well, you've certainly given us a lot to think about. RTX is clearly a company to watch closely in the coming months and years.
Absolutely. Their journey will be full of twists and turns, and it's going to be fascinating to see how it all unfolds.
It's like we've had this backstage pass to one of the most important industries shaping our world.
And what's exciting is that the story of RTX, it's still being written.
Absolutely. It's a company pushing the boundaries of technology.
Yeah.
Constantly evolving.
Yeah.
Who knows what incredible innovations they'll come up with next.
That's the beauty of this field. There's always something new on the horizon.
Well, I think we've covered a lot of ground here. Given our listener a solid understanding of RTX, their businesses, their competitive landscape, their strategy for growth, the risks they face, and some recent developments that hint at what's to come.
Yeah, we've really explored the complex world of aerospace and defense and how RTX is navigating that world with its own unique approach.
It's been quite a journey.
It has.
But I'm feeling our listener might be wondering, what does all of this mean for me? Like, why should I care about RTX?
That's the question everyone should be asking themselves.
Exactly. So as we wrap up this deep dive, I have one final thought. We've talked about RTX's current innovations. You know those drone killer missiles, the new GTF Advantage engine, their push into hypersonics. But what about the long game?
Right, the really long-term vision.
What will be the next big thing? the game-changing technology that will reshape the aerospace and defense industry, and what role will RTX play in making it a reality?
That's the question we can all ponder. The future is full of possibilities, and
Yeah.
I have no doubt that RTX will be right there pushing the boundaries of what's possible.
Well said. We've reached the end of our deep dive into RTX. We hope you've enjoyed this exploration of a company that's shaping the future of how we fly, how we defend ourselves, and how we understand the world around us.
A company with a rich past and an even more exciting future.
Until next time, keep looking up.
And keep exploring the world with a curious mind. This content is produced by Compasscope.com. For more than 1,100 public listed companies, find detailed research reports, visual mind maps, earnings call analysis, and audio discussions on Compasscope.com.